Welcome to Hollywood Unapologetic. My name is Orlando Delbert. I wanted to speak a little bit about Hollywood's pedophiles, predators, and gatekeepers, and the full of shit Hollywood producers. One thing about living in Los Angeles, you'll notice right away it is a tough place to be if you aren't relying on financial help from your parents or anyone else. This is true for most people upon the first few years of being here until they have somewhat of a steady gig. People can be disconnected, and the way many live their lives is rather backwards. There is a strong sense of disparity as a byproduct of our industry's nature. Most people don't speak to their own neighbors and are detached in many ways. Take logic and accountability, then turn them 180 degrees from what makes sense. Now hand your distorted logic to a bunch of spoiled children have their way with, because this is the type of logic you'll be dealing with on a daily basis. This is relevant to this episode because many of you wanting to move to Los Angeles to pursue your dreams will come into contact with the mindset from day one. In the previous episode, Life in the City of Angels and Accountability, I mentioned gatekeepers and how many of them end up spending most of their time surrounded by mediocrity and desperation because a large majority of them have very little talent and no plan B. These are the people answering the phones, playing receptionist, or greeting you at your job interviews. They are often the ones between you and your success. Many of them go out of their way to step on anyone whose resume has more to offer than they have. Imagine growing up in a small town with a population of 500 people. You grow up in singing and dancing like many children do. You're a cheerleader and popular in school. You become a beauty queen. You're told how great you are throughout your life. Good for you. You build up a dream to see yourself on the big screen, married to a hunky film star and being rich enough to buy your own private island off of Fiji. You run off with a plan to land in the arms of Hollywood, who will warmly embrace the shining star that you are. When you arrive in the arms of the City of Angels, you might feel a certain warmth, but you'll quickly discover that it's not a welcoming embrace. You'll realize that the warmth emanates from the thousands of people surrounding you who also came from a small town, grew up in singing and dancing, became beauty queens, were cheerleaders, and were popular. They've all been told how great they are for their entire lives. All of a sudden it hits you. You're really not that special after all. This sudden realization slaps many across the face. This sudden brush with reality adds to the stresses of finding work, keeping a roof over your head, and all of the trappings that come to chasing your Hollywood dreams. This added pressure feeds into the vulnerability to predatory behavior by the unscrupulous. I mention them here because all too many of them fall victim to the casting couches and desperate, misrepresented opportunities of trading fellatio for a job. No one is immune to these forms of advances. The casting couch is very much alive and well all over Hollywood. Many of those who intrude on aspiring talents' integrity usually come from the so-called casting directors or producers that really are not that high up in the food chain. They prey on those desperate for fame and money, knowing there's a never-ending sea of young and gullible individuals out there. Of course, not all the gatekeepers, those we come into contact daily with in our travels throughout the Hollywood trenches full of victims to this. But there is, without a doubt, a lot of toxicity within the entertainment world, very much real, and a part of the Hollywood underbelly that many speak about openly, or just may not even be aware of. And it's not just the advances of the so-called producers looking to take advantage of aspiring actors. These imposters meet females in some coffee house or club and drop the line, "That's right, baby, I'm a producer." And they know that line, well, at least one woman or man will buy it. This scenario happens all of the time to the multitude of people walking around with the combination of an ego-based agenda and the desperation of wanting so badly to get a break. It happens in the workplace as well. I dated a wonderful woman while I was in college who I'll call Jennifer. She was a wholesome lady from a small town and was well educated in addition to adhering to all the Southern virtues and moral ethics. Jennifer came to Los Angeles wanting to break into the film or television production end of entertainment. She had a special interest in the creative end of post-production, creating graphics and special effects for film and television, which her 3 degrees were geared toward. She already had experience in picture cutting, so Los Angeles seemed like a logical place for her to be. When she first arrived, she had trouble finding work. Then a catering company hired her as a server, which helped her pay her bills. So during this time, she also was kept out sending out resumes and making calls whenever she could. She got an interview at some small production company I've never heard of that was near where we were living at the time, down the street from Hollywood Boulevard and North La Brea Avenue. I wished her good luck, but something just didn't seem right deep down. The little information she provided about this interview raised warning flags with me. I knew Jennifer was walking to the interview and had a feeling she was headed to a building right off of the corner of Hollywood and Vine. This building was filled with a lot of small-time producers renting out small office spaces, smaller than a closet, just to have a Hollywood office address. Watching her leave left me feeling very uneasy. Hours later, I received a phone call from her. She was at the spa and had to sneak away to find a payphone to let me know that she was okay. She was trying to tell me where she was and what had happened before the man she was interviewing with found her on the phone. Conversation left me more worried than before, but I didn't have enough information to act upon. A few more hours went by and she finally walked through the door looking disheveled and disconnected. The poor thing began to tell me the story of the entire day. Jennifer told me that she arrived at the interview and noticed that the man she was speaking to didn't even look at her in the eyes once. He would momentarily stop eyeing her resume so he can just glare at her breasts before resuming to gaze at the resume. He told her he needed to go out to one of the studios for a meeting and asked if she would continue the interview in the car. And she agreed to go with him. Aside from this dubious circumstance, he looked like a bad mix between a stand-in of a particular red-headed sitcom star from the 70s and a horror movie puppet character from the 80s. I wish I could be more specific, believe me. I'm pretty sure I would have walked out of the interview. But as he was driving a beat-up mid-80s Mustang that wouldn't start unless he climbed under it to hit the starter with a hammer. She reluctantly got in and took a seat among piles of scripts and headshots of female actresses scattered all around the car. He was talking about how great he was, blah, blah, blah. They arrived at one of the studios, and he told her to wait in the car. Hours go by. She had no idea where she was and couldn't call anyone to come get her because she didn't have her cell phone with her. Her later descriptions of being surrounded by homeless people and prostitutes and drag had me believing she was still somewhere in Hollywood. Their next stop was the spa. To this day, I have no idea where they ended up. I only know the frantic call she made from a payphone with him breathing over her. Jennifer discreetly tried to tell me that she was fine, that I shouldn't worry because she would be heading home soon, but her nervousness was rather unsettling. It was starting to get dark by the time the ride back to the office began, and on the way he told her that he was not only looking for an assistant who would do the task he listed in the ad, but also someone who will fuck me 5 or 6 times a day. Poor thing. She was so scared and had no idea what to do next. So she ended up in the middle of some bad B-movie plot for more than 8 hours after leaving for what should have been an ordinary interview for a production assistant job. She was scared, disgusted, and desperately in need of a hot shower. And unfortunately, this happens all the time in real life. Although this isn't a story you will hear often, it is a reality that it happens often. There are even adult casting couches websites that are dedicated to tricking women into having sex on camera based entirely on the premise of getting them modeling or acting work. Of course, the premise is a total lie. These women think they are filming auditions that will somehow lead them to mainstream acting opportunities, but just ends up as online content for pornography sites. A news story broke about the same time as Jennifer's experience. Some guy was busted posing as a producer at a popular Hollywood nightclub, which just happened to be around the corner from where we were living at the time. He was arrested due to allegations saying he slipped Rufinol into a woman's drink and had sex with her while she was unconscious. It turns out that this was a nightly activity for him, and he had been doing this for years. He would use the producer line to lure women into a limousine waiting outside before taking them to have sex at his Hollywood Hills abode. And most nights, he would drug 2 women and take them home with him. Quite a few women came forward after the story came out. Moral of the story, don't leave your drink unattended and don't go home with a full of shit Hollywood producer. And I was just reminded of something that happened to a female news reporter just years ago. On March 23, 2009, a 43-year-old woman and a male friend went out drinking in West Hollywood. The man decided to take a cab home because he was too intoxicated, leaving her alone. She was also intoxicated. The news producer went into the Here Lounge on Robertson Boulevard shortly after 12:30 in the morning, where security cameras captured her buying a bottle of water at the lower bar and sitting on the bench outside on the patio for about 10 minutes. According to court papers, sometime between 12:54 a.m. and 1:30 a.m., she entered a unisex restroom. As she closed the door to the stall and began to sit on the toilet, club employee Victor Cruz rushed in and sexually assaulted her before she ran out of the club. A good Samaritan found her a block away and called 911. The sheriff's investigators took her to the Santa Monica UCLA Rape Treatment Center. Her injuries were documented and DNA samples from her body and clothing were collected. After a 15-day trial in Santa Monica Superior Court, jurors found that Cruz committed a sexual offense and had harmed the woman, and the Here Lounge's negligence was considered a substantial factor in causing that harm, and none of the blame was attributed to the woman. Cruz vanished after being acquitted in a criminal case, but was found responsible by a civil court jury. This club turned a blind eye to sexual activity that was allowed to occur in the restroom area, said Attorney John Taylor. Although they had a stated policy of security guards being present in the bathrooms, they weren't present at the time of the attack. The guards abandoned the place where most of the problems go on. A situation that could have gone more badly than it did came to light even more recently. As an attempt to ask fans to be super careful when out at clubs and bars, actress and writer Rebel Wilson tweeted on March 10, 2016, she had a drink at a trendy nightclub and believed her drink was drugged. After only having 1/3 of her drink, she felt tired and was disoriented. She made it home but felt horrible the following morning. I never thought this would happen to me, but if it does, please act soon as you feel something strange and get yourself to safety, she shared on her Twitter account. Unfortunately, it doesn't end there. Children also fall victim to advances in inappropriate behavior. There have been allegations of powerful Hollywood figures sheltering child abusers for some time. Just in the past decade, there have been several convictions of wealthy and influential Hollywood insiders, some of which have already been released from prison and working again with children. Actor Elijah Wood talked about how pedophiles had been protected by powerful figures inside the film business in an interview with the Sunday Times on May 22, 2016. Although his mother protected him when he was a child by not allowing him to have gone to industry parties, Wood said that other child actors were preyed upon by industry figures regularly. Clearly, something major was going on in Hollywood. It was all organized. There are a lot of vipers in this industry, people who only have their own interest in mind. There's a darkness in the underbelly. If you can imagine it, it's probably happened, said Wood. In 2011, Corey Feldman exposed the abuse he suffered as a young actor. The number one problem in Hollywood was and is, and always would be, pedophilia, said Feldman. When Feldman was 14, he met and became best friends with another child actor, Corey Haim. They starred in numerous films together and their own television show. In Feldman's memoir, he described their first meeting. An adult male had convinced Corey that it was perfectly normal for older men and younger boys in the business to have sexual relationships. So they walked off to a secluded area between two trailers, and Haim allowed himself to be sodomized. The Biz Parents Foundation is an organization established to protect child actors. And according to co-founder Ann Henry, there are around 100 active abusers in Hollywood that are being protected. People look at Corey Feldman and think he's a drug addict, so why should they listen to him, says Henry. That plays into the predator's hands. They don't want victims to be believed. We estimate that about 75% of the child actors who went off the rails suffered earlier abuse. Drug addiction, alcoholism, suicide attempts, wandering through life without a purpose, they could all be symptoms. During the 1990s, allegations of Hollywood pedophile pool parties came from a Los Angeles mansion hosted primarily by Mark Collins Rector, a co-founder of Digital Entertainment Network. DEN created their own online content, some of which with a pederastic tenor. No, I didn't say that right. Collins Rector and other men had lawsuits against them for allegedly sexually assaulting at least 6 boys. There are other stories of abuse, websites hosting photos of young boys working in the entertainment industry in swimsuits, and even the selling of child pornography on eBay. And some of these sites use the photos of children as gateways to adult websites. The tsunami of claims has begun, said Henry. This problem has been endemic in Hollywood for a long time, and it's finally coming to light. These stories, unfortunately, only touch the surface. I share these stories with hopes that you'll be observant of your surroundings. Stay accountable for what happens to you. If you are with friends and drank a little too much, have some make sure you get home safely. Be aware of anything that sends up red flags, and look for and be aware of ulterior motives. Don't go new to a location for potential employer during interviews. Evaluate the validity of a potential employer and ask for credentials or more details. Ask questions that will provide accountability assurance. And don't be afraid to walk out of a situation that you're uncomfortable with. Your well-being requires vigilance in both social and work settings. Your well-being requires vigilance in both social and work settings. Predators are everywhere. The world is greatly influenced by what is seen on the screen and heard on the radio. Let's be the new Hollywood generation. Let's give them something that will drive everyone to do something bigger and to make a positive difference in the world. Something I'd like to leave you with. We're all in it together. Each and every one of you is an important part of our future. You are important to the lives of those who surround you. You're important to your communities. You're important to our industry. No matter what, remain optimistic and focused on your goal. Never stop believing in yourself. Always remember, you're the key to your own success. Take a breath, move forward. Together, let's create a revival, the resurgence of Hollywood, and bring back the auteur to cinema. Be an active part of the new Hollywood generation. You are a representative of the new Hollywood generation. And please subscribe to our channel and share. Interviews are coming, and don't forget to check out our other videos in the series. Follow the link below to check out our swag. You are a representative of the new Hollywood generation. Join Hollywood Unapologetic in our quest to positively empower one another, to empower our industry as we speak openly to industry professionals about the true pursuit of our Hollywood dreams and in life. Hollywood Unapologetic is a continuation of the Pollyanna's tear-soaked battlefields of Hollywood, a survival guide against the cynicism and the hypocritical series of books designed to help you better prepare for success. It is now our time to strive to be a better version of ourselves and to be inclusive of one another. We, as a community, can grow together and be the change our industry needs. We can find unity together and be the change our future needs. We are the new Hollywood generation. Welcome to Hollywood Unapologetic.